definitions of a leader and definitions of a leadership, some theoretical models, and apply leadership skills in practices. Right? These are the areas we're going to touch today under leadership. Okay, let's look at it. Some of the things, the power of positive thinking, the usually the leader should have. Now you can see from two diagrams in the left hand, the Japan. Now you see, what happened to Japan after the World War II. It's basically just like it's like that in the left hand corner diagram. Now today they are the third largest economy with the minimal number of population. You see the difference before World War II, after World War. Just 30 years, 35 to 50, 40 years became the third largest economy. So power of positive thinking, the power of the leaders who manage that country. See how, what extent they can convert even for country. I just give you some example, right? So that is the leadership attitude secret of their success. Now let's look at it another one. So Singapore. Now we all are aware the Singapore is previous colonized Sri Lanka of Britain. Now is now leading the per capita ranking of the world. So who has changed the entire Singapore? Right. So one leader have changed, like Malaysia. Right. Some personal characteristics or personal qualities drive the country into successful one. Right. Now let's look at it. Where can you find leaders? Now you see these are some of the leaders you can think about, you may know. So leaders can be seen from the civil society, among the civil society as well as the corporates. Right? You see the civil society and the corporate. These are some of the known leaders. Right? Now you know who is this gentleman. Right? And you know who is the Warren Buffett. So these are some characters of leadership or leaders showing some leadership qualities. Now let's look at this diagram. Now you know where he was. Now see how he began his business. Amazon.com. Now where he is now? Every second, this base of his earning 2,489. Right? Now who is this? He's the guy who is funded from the society, the Abdul Kalam. World recognized their qualities. And you know these four guys, I think you must be knowing of these guys. Who is the richest person now out of these four guys? Who is the richest person? You You see, from the Bill Gates, Ellen, Rizzo, and Zuckerberg. There are four business people, leading business people. Now, till last week or maybe 10 days ago, who is the guy? Who is the richest guy? Is Jeff Bezos. That is, who is the guy from Amazon.com. Now, who is the richest person at the moment in the world? That is Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk's name was not there even last year. So only only 2020 latter part only. He first became the fourth richest man, beating Mark Zuckerberg. Right? And became the third richest and the second richest, beating Bill Gates and beating Jeff Bezos, and he became the number one. Right? And maybe 10 days ago, till 10 from 2017 September onwards up to 2021 Jan, mid-Jan, I mean around 10th or 12th, 8th, 9th Jan, the world richest person is Jeff Bezos. That is this gentleman, the right-hand corner. But now, who is the guy who is discovered the founder of Tesla, right? The richest person in the world is overtaking Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. And he's the guy who having around 185 billion US dollars. And whereas Jeff Bezos is having around not much, 170 odd. Only 15 US dollar billion different. Musk overtaken Emerson from Jeff. Right? What is the secret? What are the secret of their success? One factor we need to consider. We need to address the leadership qualities. I just give you example in today's context. Right? From 2017, maybe 3 years or so. So Jeff Bezos is the richest person, but now you know the reason for Elon Musk to become the richest person because of the American green credit. So he is the manufacturer of environment friendly cars, electric cars. You have seen, and mind you, I want to tell you another story on him. Elon Musk is the first guy came up with a novel idea of what you call, I just you must be knowing, the first guy who came up with the idea of blue horizons, red ocean strategy or blue ocean strategy. You know what do you mean by a red ocean and a blue ocean? Red ocean mean you compete with the competitor using your competitive strategies and you make a number one. But a blue ocean strategy, you're not going to fight with your competitor. You look at it a different way rather than fighting with your competitors. He come up with a novel idea. Now, Elon Musk is the guy who come up with some innovative idea. I just give you some example for that. He's the guy He want to build mega, giga, Tesla electric car company. But he need capital, to start any business. People need capital. Now, capital can be taken from different sources, either showing shares, or obtaining a loan, right? Or get a loan, that's a debt. So then, many ways. But he introduced a novel concept. He said, if you want, he put an advertisement through internet, web. If you want electric car, give me 30,000, something like that. I can't remember exactly. 30,000 US dollars. I mean, almost half the market rate of the car. He showed the car. He said, if you want this car, now you invest with me around 30,000 for an example. Within 2 years, once I complete my giga factory, I'll give you a car. A lot of people trust him. A lot of people invested that money. So imagine that 30,000 US dollars into number of cars, and from that capital, he built a giga car company. And in fact, as he promised, he gave all the people who invested the money before he agreed period. So this is the novel way of the leader can think about finding new sources of capital. Now that is the reason why today Elon Musk has become the richest person in the world. Right? Show some sort of a innovative ideas, good leaderships. Okay, so just food for thought. So why thought leadership matters? Now, you see, it is if you are a good leader, you are standing out from the crowd. Right? Now, research has shown time and again, over and again, the difference between an average organization and a successful organization, leadership skills of the people. So that's what I told earlier also. And effective leaderships, therefore, absolutely make a difference. And by developing your leadership skill, you will be able to make a meaningful contribution to your bank. That is why the leadership is important for any organization. Right? So let me give some definitions about leading. Now, leading me is a process of driving and energizing the members in the organization, to do what they don't want to do and like it. So another way of talking about the leading is the process of getting extraordinary results from ordinary people. How can we get much outcome from the ordinary people? Leading is a process, again, directing, influencing the task-oriented activities of group members, entire organization. So this is very briefly is meaning of what is leading. Bring all the peoples together, get the maximum from them to achieve organizational goals. Right? So this is some very brief definitions of leading. Right. Now, let's look at it now. Leadership. What is a common task of all leaders? What is a common task of all leaders? Earlier definitions also talk about. It's a common task. influence others to achieve the set goals and targets or change their behavior. How? What is influence? Change how people think, convert from negative attitudes to the positive attitudes, change how they behave. This is influence. Through that, a leader can achieve organization targets, right? So he can influence. Now, how can he influence? Excellent leaders, so therefore, would have an extraordinary ability to influence and inspire the behavior of the individuals and groups towards the achievements of organizing goal. Now, whatever we are learning, the ulterior objective or ulterior motive is achieving organization's goals and objective. Leading also the one aspect of that. How excellent leaders use the leadership style to change the behavior of or influence the inspire the behavior of individuals or groups achieve organization objective. So therefore, excellent leaders would always therefore always they direct and guide organizational members. Effectively communicate with all the parties. Create a conducive work culture. So we discuss about the culture. Effectively motivate all the people and introduce changes. So good leader show these characteristics. We will discuss that one little later on, more details. Now let's look at it. What you make use of to influence others. Now we discuss power, right? So we discuss different type of power: legitimate power, expert power, right? Charismatic power, right? Information power. We discussed earlier power. Now, how a leader can influence his subordinates or followers using some sort of power. Now, what do you mean by a power? So, therefore, power is the potential capacity of a person to cause change in another person, right? So, now let's look at it again very briefly. How this position power, sometimes we call hard power, or personal power, so we call soft power, can be used to influence other people. So, therefore, power is the potential capacity of a person to cause a change in another person, right? Some example. Now, power comes from sometimes personality traits, characteristics. Now, let's look at it. Expert power. One of the personal power is expert power. Your knowledge, your skill. Okay. Now, example of expert power we can highlight. Steve Jobs was recognized as a great leader for his expert knowledge and skills in electronics, right? And another personal power person must can use to change the behavior of other is a referent power. good example again, we can quote the Mother Teresa, was highly regarded and respected as a leader due to great value she carried in her life. Now we are discussing the present people. So they may use it, their personal power, to change the behavior of others. Or let's look at it another power, that is what you call hard power, position power. Position power refers power that come derived from the rank, position, designation, authority. So managers mostly use the position power to influence their subordinates. Now, say for an example, power comes from the formal management position in an organization. It's legitimate power. Now, human resource manager in an organization can decide whom to be invited for an interview. President in Sri Lanka have the power to decide what good or what not good for Sri Lanka prosperity. Then a reward power. Power comes from the authority to reward others for their performances. Example, we can say marketing manager can give some rewards to sales reps who performs well. And cohesive power. Power comes from the authority to punish an employee is transferred to another branch due to poor conduct by the head of branches or DGM operations or AGM operation, whoever. Right? So therefore, people, we discussed type of power previously, previous lecture, and we can make use of power, both soft and hard power specifically, to influence other person to change their behavior. Okay, right. So now let me explain to you what are the main functions of leading. What are the main functions of leading? Main functions of leading, right? What are the main functions of leading? As we discussed, a good leader must direct and guiding because he is a visionary person, should be a visionary. Now, he must have a strategic vision to motivate and inspire. He must be a visionary leader. He must direct us. You know what is vision statement? What is vision statement for an organization? It gives directions to organization to go. So leader was also visionary leader. He give direct them, guide their followers to go. That's the first one. Second one, leader also good communicator. Communicating. So good leader has a communicator or networker. He must be having networking. He will deal with people, talk to people, have a good network. Now, usually good leader must have a better rapport with different public of the organization, right? For media, regulators, right? Hierarchies, that mean the parliamentarians, lobby groups, right? He must have to be have a better rapport with those guys. For that, he need to be communicated. So good leader, therefore, good communicator. Because gathering, integrating external and internal information is an important aspect of lead, right? So one of the main functions of leader is communicating. Third one is culture building. So he is the guy as a culture builder or modifier. He create the environment, he create the organization culture or positive way. We change the entire culture of an organization from buddy daddy into more energetic team workforce. He is a culture building, right? That's another functions of a lead. Fourth one. So he should be also as a leader, as a motivator and inspire. Leader also have the qualities of motivating others. And the next one is changing. And leader was as a change agent. He is the person the challenging the status quo and enabling creativity, accumulating and charge internal knowledge. So these are some of the functions of leading, right? What are the main functions? Directing and guiding, or visionary functions, communicating functions, culture building functions, motivating functions, changing functions, right? So these are the some of the functions of leading. Now, some people use different methods to lead the others or subordinates or workforce or group or team. What method you use it? Leading by stick. What do you mean by the leading by stick? Now, getting the work from people through negative influences such as threats, punishments, hash, commendants, and etc. But remember, the leader get the things done willfully, not by punishment. But there are some leaders, yeah, how they leading. So stick with it, right? They make use of that punishment. That's called stick approach. Some are leading by carrot. What do you mean by the carrot? Getting the work from people through positive influences. Stick is a negative influences. Cooperation, reward, mutual consultation, recognizing, all sort of things. This is how some people show some leading characteristics. Now, even for your certain managers, you will come to get an idea. Some people want to manage their staff leading by stick. There are some people make use of a leading approach by carrot approach. Positive influences. Another aspect. So leading by example. Now how is that? Getting the work from people by setting an example for others and letting others to follow you as a role model. Right? So these are the three methods you can use for lead the people: stick, carrot, and example. Some food for thought. Now, some example. The famous people who use these approaches. One, now say autocratic and democratic. So this is leading by stick and leading by carrot. You see Adolf Hitler, Idi Amin, Saddam Hussein, Julius Caesar, King Alexander the Great. So what is the how they lead? They are good leaders. Example. So they are using the stick method, using some autocratic leadership style, ekadipati. Then use some other methods, leading by carrot. Example, Mahatma Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, Desmond Tutu, Kurosawa Akiro, Martin Luther King. So those are the guys who are also leaders. So they use a different, right? Okay, so that means some people use leading by stick, carrot, and example. I just give you a stick and carrot, some example in the world. But you see some of the famous corporate leaders, as I explained to you, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Akio, Walt Disney, David Packard, Sam Walton, Warren Buffett, Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, Jack Welch. There are some famous corporate leaders. Whereas the Sri Lanka we have some Nambika, some corporate leaders. Okay, now let's look at it. As this manager and the leader both are same, or are there differences? Now let's look at it. Some of the differences between manager and a leader. You see, these managers tend to adopt impersonal or passive attitudes towards goals. So the leaders adapt more personal and active attitudes towards them. Right now, these are some of the things I will explain to you. Uh, Difference between a manager and a leader. Some of the qualities of a manager and the leader. So we have the criteria. Right. So managers therefore tend to adapt impersonal or passive attitudes towards goals, but the leaders adapt more personal and active attitudes towards them. The second point, you see, managers maintain a low level of emotional involvement with other people. So they are maintaining a low level of emotional involvement. People like to be close with emotion. Why? People are not rational. In theory, we learn people behave, we have to assume that people are behaving in a rational way. But a lot of people are emotional. That is why if they feel sad, otherwise they can't be a sad guy because they know everything. Why? Because they feel sad. Why they happy? Because they are emotional. That is why we like certain shapes of the body, colors, because we are emotional anyway. So managers maintain a low level of emotional involvement. with other people. But leaders have an empathy with other people and give attention what events and action. Right? Another difference between manager and a leader. Managers sometimes perceive themselves as regulators of the other people who exist the order of attires within the organization. But the leaders search out opportunities for change. It's another fact. I am just telling you some of the things in a different way. Now, manager reacts, but what leader try to do? He want to transform. So manager reacts, but leaders are transforms. So manager is usually involving with all the functions of the management, like like planning, directing, organizing, control. But leader involves motivating, encouraging, communication, involvement. So see how manager involved and how leading. Manager always part of the problem, but leader try to find out solution. Right? So we said managers have subordinates, but leaders have followers. Right? That is why Claudius are positional and personal. Okay? So some of the things we discuss the difference between a manager and a leader. So therefore, leader, what's the people we need now? We need managers or we need leaders? What we need? We need managers who are also leaders. Or that is why we call them as managerial leaders. So managerial leader shown the manner in which they manage the organization or manage the subordinates or manage the followers or manage groups, manage teams. That's called the management or the leadership style. So we don't want pure managers in business. We don't want pure leaders. So we have learned the difference between these two, manager and the leader. So what we need? We need managerial leader who showed some leadership qualities and he also shows some managerial qualities. Today, new textbooks, they talk about leader has three phases, FSES. One as a managerial. So therefore, discipline, rationale, organizing, control, decision making. So he needs to be a manager. And he should be an artist, curious, creative, emotional, innovative. And he also should be have another phase, priest-faced. He should be an ethical, pure, empathy, inspiring, confronting. So today, good managerial leader has three phases: managerial, artists, and the presses. Right? So you need to understand that part. Now, so what are the three? If I ask a simple question, what are the three most important leadership skills or trait you must have? One is the empathy. Empathy is an important trait. Now, empathy means that you are able to appreciate what someone else is going through. Most of the time, we don't have this. It's a good thing. The good today's contemporary leader must have the empathy. Second one, honesty. Now, honesty today play an important role than any other things today. So, good leader will recognize the honest leader, which we live in a transparent world, embrace it. So, you need to people you are too leading trust you, right? So today, the good leader also shows up honesty. Very important. Third, humility. Another important factor, right? Open to be people to be feedback, accept criticism, and all such things. So now you may, I don't want to mention, you heard some story about certain behavior. So we as a good leader, we need to absorb all this criticism, right? We have a maturity to absorb any criticism. These are some of the leadership qualities, right? What are these three? Empathy, honesty, and so the present day good leaders must lead. Now, so you see, we have learned this one, process management, and with this management, so leadership, one of the functions of management, right? What they try to do is basically leadership, influence, the implement part about a decision making process. So therefore, if you take the entire management, so the leadership is a subset of management. Leadership is a subset of management. Right? Okay. Now, based on that, we will see what is the difference between leadership and the management. So, as we explained earlier, leaderships can be viewed in providing direction, creating a vision, and then influence others to share that visions and work towards the achievements of goals. So, leadership can be seen as getting other people to do things willingly. That's the important thing. Leaderships seen as getting other people to do things willingly. So that can be occur at different level within the organization. Whereas the management process of getting things done through the effects of other people, because management is focuses on procedures, results, and everything. Now, Taylor has identified this. long time, the fuel, importance of the human being. Now you see the difference between leader and the manager, right? Now if you further summarize between leadership and management, you can say management planning and budgeting, organizing, controlling, problem solving, producing a degree of predictability, but leadership, direction, align people, motivating people, changing people, often to dramatic degree. So that's the difference between leader and. So therefore, leadership story they talk about management is doing things right, but leadership is doing the right things. That is what Warren Berries and Peter Drucker said, right? Okay, that's up to this point. But sometimes a lot of people may use management and leaderships are using interchangeably, but there are two different meaning about leaderships and right. Now the first hour, what we have discussed. So we discuss some introduction to leading and leadership. First, I just summarize what we have learned in the first hour. I keep on telling you, this is not like a just a management class, right? So, what we have discussed, we discussed why leadership, why leading important, why leadership is important. We mentioned that it's not only restricted to the human being, but in the animal field also. There are some animals shown some leadership qualities. Good example I have quoted to you is Panamuri and Raja. There's a songs on that, right? Okay, right. Then, then we discuss where you can find some good leaders from society or the corporate world. And also we mentioned that leaders can change the organization. Any organization successful is depend on the leadership skills, leadership style, and the manner he manage the organization. So we discuss what is leading. Whatever leading means, bring, drive your staff, energize them to achieve the organization's goal. Willfully, that's it. So therefore, the common task of all leaders, as we explained, they influence others to achieve their targets or goals. How can they influence? Through use of certain powers, soft power and a hard power. We explain certain expert power used by Steve Jobs, a referent power, how Mother Teresa used that, and your position power, how they use to change the behavior. And then we discuss what are the main functions of a leader. It should be a good visionary person, good communicator, culture builder, motivator, change agent, right? And also we briefly touch on that how people lead. What are the methods of leading? Some use stick. We give an example. Example for leading stick use. Napoleon Bonaparte, Adolf Hitler, Saddam Hussein, Indian Army, right? Alexander the Great. So they are using stick method. Some use more democratic methods, like people like we use Mahatma Gandhi, right? Martin King, right? And some are leading by example. They show how others to behave like me. We are a leader having a lot of followers, right? And then we discuss who is a manager and who is the leader. What type of people we need? We discuss some of the characteristics of a manager, some of the characteristics of a leader. Certain characteristics of a manager also important. Certain characteristics of the leader also important. So today, therefore, we want, having understood the both aspect, we need managers who also leaders. Therefore, we need managerial leaders today. But after the Enron case, you know what is Enron? Enron is a large corporate scandal which took place in USA in 2002 somewhere. The seventh largest organization in the USA collapsed due to various reasons. So people are saying lack of internal control and corporate governance, especially because people lost the trust about the leaders of that Enron. So first time, especially after the this Enron case, mind you, they look at it. Managerial leaders, apart from manager the leader qualities, they add some more qualities to be a good managerial leader: integrity, honesty, empathy, or some points. They had some points. Good leader. And they said they may be a priest, artist, and a manager. So today, good manager leaders must have all these things. And we discuss some concept between leadership and a management. Even though sometimes the terms management and leadership are used interchangeably, but remember, the leadership is a subset of management. Especially the leaderships in the management process try to implement part attention on more important attention. So the leaderships is basically what we talk is request people to achieve their targets willing, but the management getting things done through the effects of other people. That is why I say management is doing things right, is doing the right things. So new episodes about the leadership story. Right? So these are the things what we have learned up to now. Right. I hope you heard, you have learned something about introduction to leaderships. Any questions? Gayat, you're okay? Sivara? So I'm very difficult to hear your voice, but doesn't matter. Gayan, so you're okay, no? I hope.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I'll just give you some introductions about the leadership. Right. So this maybe you cannot see in the textbooks per se. So this is a modern way of look at it, the leaderships. Right. So with this small background, so let me now going to discuss in detail what is leadership. We need good leaders. There's an argument. There's a big argument went maybe a couple of years back. We need good leaders. We are worried about the leadership, or we are worried about the leadership style. Right? There's a lot of discussions when between good leaders, good leadership qualities, and a leadership style. Right. Now, the let's look at it some of the definition. As I used to give you so many definitions, right? Let's look at it some of the definitions. So leadership, some people are telling that's the straight Albert and Conrad, who's the guys who use a lot of definitions, a lot of studies about the leadership, right? They talk about the leadership as the ability to influence individuals and groups to work towards attaining organizational objects. Another definition, ability to influence the group towards the achievers and goal of goals. That's Robinson. Then you see another definition, process of directing and influencing. That is the famous guru, the green book guru, low price edition guru, the Stone and Freeman, the management guru. Talk about leadership as directing and influencing task related activities. Then you have another definitions. Peter Drucker talk about only definitions of a leader is someone. What is it? Is it the guys who's having the followers supposed to be a good leader? Then the Maxwell is it leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. You see, different guys, foreign berries, leadership is a functions of knowing yourself, vision, communicated, building trust among colleagues, taking effective actions to realize your own leadership potential. Take Sengi 1990, they talk about leadership is the capacity of individuals to spark the capacity of human community. Influence relationship among leaders and followers. So Albert Kendrop said leadership is the ability to influence groups towards attaining organizational objectives. So do you see now there are so many definitions. And let's look at some of the contemporary definitions. So a lot of people think, no, 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 behavior, style, charisma, that is not the idea about the leaderships. So there are a lot of scholars discuss the basic nature of leadership in terms of interactions, how people are involved in the process, both leaders and followers. So it's a collaborative endeavor. Some people are thinking about the leadership. So therefore, the essence of leadership is not the leader, but the relationship. That's a roast talk about. So the most important thing in the leadership is what you call getting other people to do things willingly. Now, if you really look at it, all this definition, all this definition, we really analyze, there are some common things. I keep on telling you, you also can define leader, but there are some important things you need to be incorporated to the definition. Now, I'll tell you an example. So, how you define marketing? How you define marketing? So, the marketing is defined by in the Chartered Institute of Marketing. It is a management process identifying and anticipating customers' requirement profitably. Right? That's a simple definition. So, but there are some common definition, common meaning. What that? Identify customers' needs and wants. Not only identify, but also anticipate what the future needs going to be. They are going to satisfy the customer. Satisfy both ways. Satisfy the customer and satisfy the institution. Satisfy the customer. How they satisfy the institution? Profits. Right? So some people add this marketing is a social aspect, a social process. The moment you say social is human related. We're trying to find out solution to human problems. So likewise, anybody you can use it any definition as far as the key ingredient has to be incorporated. Like now, say for an example here, all this definition is talking about providing direction, providing direction, creating vision, influencing others. Those are some common things. Finally, in management, everything we do for what purpose? Achieve organization's goals and objectives. If you learn any management or any science, the final things end up with attainment of your organization's goals and objective or your individual goals and objectives. Right? So everything we do for that. Objective may be vary, profit, social welfare, whatever. Profits and non-profit. Okay. So now you heard about or you learn about what is leadership. We defined lot of definitions. What is control, right? What is planning, what is culture, right? What is management, what is an organization. You will recall we learned a lot of different definitions. But all the definition, when I explain to you, I'll give a meaning of each important words inbuilt in the any definition. Right. Let me now look at it another way. I mean, it is not in a handout, but doesn't matter. So, a lot of people considers therefore leadership as a process. Not only a process, but it's a dynamic process. What do you mean by a dynamic? Dynamic means usually important at all levels in business. Leadership as a property. So let's look at it. Why you say leadership as a property? So leadership organization represent ability to influence other behavior of members. So it's a property therefore. Because it is a process of direction, communicating, inspiring change. It have a certain property. That is why I call leadership as a property. Right? What do you mean by a property? The property of something you can change something. Something you can influence. That is a property. So therefore, leadership as a property. And it is a process. The process means, again, I'm telling you, series of activities, right? You have to do it in a different activities, and it's a dynamic process. It impact all level within the organization. So leadership can come in number of different ways. Example, some leaders can be elected. That is why it's a process through the elections, something through politics or trade union. There's a leader must be elected. Sometimes leaders must be emerged because of their personal drive and qualities. Some leaders are appointed that because of their positions of authority. Now, say for an example, now a bank will take in who is the main organizer or main what you call Anusasaka or president? Usually the bank CEO. That because of his authority got the power. Now, lot of army welfare societies, you see, the wife of that, especially the women welfare association in the army, the commander's wife become chairperson because of appointment. Because of your position, the leaders are appointed. So therefore, leaders can become elected, emerge, and appointed. Just to get some idea. All things are happening through the process. Right. Let's look at it. Before we move into theories of leadership, what are the nature and the characteristics of our leadership? Let's look at it some very briefly. Leadership is a personal quality. So I think you may have to accept that. Some sort of a quality, leader. Right? And then it exists only with followers. Without followers, you can't be a leader. So always the leader must have followers. We discuss managers as subordinates, but leaders always with followers. Then it is a process of influence. So he have a capacity to change other people. Whatever any source or any method, you in a position to influence. That is a leader. Otherwise, not you be a good leader. Right? It exists only for realization of common goals. So you need to go for that. Otherwise, we don't want leaders. So everybody must be willingness to accept him as a leader. Now you see a lot of issues in recent political arena. A lot of people are not willing to accept him as a leader. As a result of that, you know what happened in Sri Lankan politics. So, as I explained to you earlier, so today, even in the political fraternity or business fraternity, today, good leaders become scarce, scarce as resources. Very difficult to find out quality leaders. Right. And then before we moving to the theories, final part about the leadership in management, why it is important or benefits rather, whatever. It improves motivations and morale. It improves motivations and morale. reduce employee dissatisfaction. It improves motivations and morale as reducing the employee dissatisfaction. It acts as a motive power to group effects. Motive power to group effects. So it creating team spirit, right? Leaderships in management create a team spirit. Encouraging effective delegations. Act as an aid to authority. Is a support. So it's helping to enlist support and cooperation from people outside the group of organizers, outside the group or organizers, as well as inside. It's needed at all levels of management. It's helping in developing skills and confidence in the groups and in all the levels. It rectifies the imperfectness of the formal organization relationships. We discussed managers are going for formal, but most of the time leaders are going for informal. Right? So that is the caliber or specific advantage of a leader, leadership in management. Right? Some of the weaknesses in the formal relationship bridged by leadership. It provides the basis for cooperations. Right? It's a blinding glue sometimes with the management and the people. Right? These are some of the importance of leadership in management. Right? So up to now, what we have discussed from the number 1 point to number 2 point. What is leading and why, what is a leadership basically? And then we discuss the different definitions of the leadership. And then we discuss the nature and the characteristics of a leadership and some importance of leaderships in management today. Right. So this basically up to this point, maybe I spent almost 1.5 hours to discuss about the importance of leadership. So the next maybe 1.5 hours or maybe two, depending on the time, what I'm going to discuss with you is the theories of leadership. But remember, all this what we have learned depend on the leadership. Now, this Peter Drucker, what he said about the leadership, he said, three things happen without the leadership. What is that? Friction, confusion, underperformance. Everything else requires leadership. Right now, he has said only three things happen naturally in an organization: friction, confusion, underperformance. Everything else, he said, requires leadership. So that means leadership is everything we required in the management for an organization. And just give you some food for thought about the leadership shift to knowledge era. Now, as you some history, right? Just to get an eye, some knowledge about. That's why not incorporate in your textbook, in your handout. You see, the industrial era, we discuss about the management theories started from uh, scientific management by the Winston Taylor, right? And then the Frederick, and then we discuss about from there to uh, from Fayol to the bureaucratic structure. Then we discuss about the Mayo theory and things like that. So what basically earlier we concentrated on a good leader. So at the very early beginning era in the 20th century, we concentrated on productions and physical flow of product. So our management style or our leadership style we required during that time may be different. Maybe more a hierarchical form of leadership, top down influence, your positional power, right? The what you call that more on a stick approach rather than a carrot approach. But we are now in the knowledge era. So the leadership qualities what we need now, it's totally different from what we use earlier. So what is our knowledge era? We are intent focus on speed and adaptability, right? So therefore today, good leaders much provide these aspects, take into account what is the era we are living, right? So that's another important we need to consider, right? So the management style or management things what we have used it in immediate after this industrial revolution are change. Can you remember now the Vincent Frederick Taylor? People considered them as machines, right? Okay, so we use a stick approach most of the time, but today we are in the knowledge era. The style of leaders may be totally different, right? Now, with this background, we will going now to discuss about the theories of leadership, because we are compelled to learn theories of leadership because you can learn something. The person if not having a knowledge about the theory, so you cannot practice. If you have a knowledge about the theory, so you can do a better practice leaders, right? Okay, now when we discuss about the theoretical approach towards the leaderships, so these are the theories we are going to discuss. We're going to discuss today. So we started with the leadership strands, and then we discuss about the behavioral theories, or sometimes we call them as behavioral theories. We call them as style theories. Then we discuss about the contingency theories, like situational theories, and we, as now, we discuss about the recent contemporary theories. Today, people are talking about transformational leadership style. Today, people are talking about distributed leadership. Have anybody heard about distributed leadership? Can anybody tell me? Have heard about the distributed leadership, shared leadership style? So these are the modern contemporary new leadership theories. If you learn today the leadership, you must need to know certain new leadership styles and theories. A lot of people are talking about shared leadership or distributed leadership. We will discuss possibly today at the latter part of the session. Right. Okay. Now these are the theories. Let me start with the first theory, leadership strengths. Leadership strength. Now, the track theory assume great leaders are born with special personality trait, and leaders cannot be created. Leaders are unborn. Trait theory says that leaders are born with special trait or characteristic. Trait mean a characteristic, which give them unique personalities that make them different from others. Now they have identified three type of traits. I think one trait is missing. You can write down, right? You can just put it here. First trait is the physical trait. Second trait is a psychological trait. Third one you can put somewhere else. We call social trait. It is social trait is missing somewhere, right? There are three type of traits identified under leadership trait, right? You have to add another column like physical traits one, psychological trait two, another trait we call social traits, right? Now, let me explain what do you mean by a physical trait. It may be, you can explain as a drive, energy, appearance, height, right? Building size, all things are physical trait of a person. Those are physical trait. The psychological trait, sometimes we call personality. Now, the don't get misused, misunderstand. Personality means not the big size at all. Most of the thing today people are talking about personality, the size, tone, height. Height is a physical trait. Now the psychologically traits mean basically adaptability, enthusiasm, and self-confidence. It's called psychological trait. The social traits, the third here, which is busy here, we call is an administrative ability, cooperation, tactfulness, courtesy, all things are we call social traits, right? Now, people who are having these traits, and what they are telling, they are good leaders, right? Some people are telling, if anybody is having these traits, I mean, good leaders. Now, that we need to accept to some extent, right? Okay, now I think you got that idea. The first theory of leadership is leadership trait theory. What do you mean by trait theory? Leaders are born with special traits, characteristics, which give them unique personalities. Now, personalities different from others. The trait can be divided into three: physical traits, where you have drive, energy, appearance, height, and things like that. Then you go to the psychological trait, that means adaptability or personality. We call adaptability, enthusiasm, self-confidence. Or sometimes we can say social trait. That means administrative ability or cooperation ability and things like that. Now, different authors who support this leadership thread has a board. What they are telling is leaders are born with having outstanding leadership qualities inborn. So different people like Rosemary Stewart, Charles Handy. I think you will remember the Charles Handy, right? Where we met him. Can anybody tell me where the Charles Handy we met? Remember? No? No any idea about where we have heard about, we learn, we discuss about the Charles Handy. Where we have met him. මතක නැද්ද? මේ චාල්ස් හැන්ඩි කලින් හම්බුනේ කොහෙද කියලා? මතක නෑනේ. හැබැයි මතකයකුත් තියෙනවා වගේ. Corporate organizational culture. Different type of culture. Charles said. Okay. Okay. Now he said there are some six qualities. And Tom Peters, he's identified 13 qualities of an effective leader. Stockgill, another scientist, and he said he's identified 6 strands. So different people identify some specific qualities. If you having some qualities like that, what they have mentioned, that means they're a leader. Now, which is in the handout, Rosemary Stewart identify foresight, integrity, dependability, dedication, fairness. If these guys are born with these characteristics, qualities, they automatically become a good leader. That's what Rosemary said. Clear? Understood. Then Stockdale track theory, what he said there are some 6 specific characteristics. Trait. If they shows this, so they become a leader. High ambitious, desire to lead, honesty and integrity, self-confidence, intelligence, task relevant knowledge. So what he said, those bring from the board. උප්පත්තියත් එක්කම මේ ලක්ෂණ අරන්. But ඒ උප්පත්තිය කියන ලක්ෂණ ඔක්කොගේ මේ විශේෂ ලක්ෂණ තිබුණොත් what he says is become a leader. Then as I explained to you, Charles Handy come up with 6 qualities. Intelligence, initiative, self-assurance, good health. But there are some common characteristics or common traits of all these qualities identified by different leadership gurus. Intelligence, initiative, see some of the common things. And overall is the generally accepted leadership qualities or traits. Aggressiveness, intelligence, self-confidence, honesty, innovativeness, perseverance, and assertiveness. Aggressiveness, all are some common. Now you see, if people who are having these qualities are considered to be, and these qualities also come with the born, with the birth, right? Then he become a leadership. So there is the first theory about the leadership. Understood? But what are the limitations of? Are you agree with these leadership qualities? Right? What are the limitations? Now, some people who are having all these qualities, but they are not leaders. You are not seeing him as a leader. So all these qualities some people are having, but they are not leaders. You cannot see him as a leadership position. One criticism. And it is not a generalization of trait of successful leader. You cannot generalize. So how to measure this trait? Very difficult. Evidence and measurements. How you measure? Right? Some of the leaders may not having this. right? All these problems, all these criticism against this track theory, very difficult to understand or clear to difficult to describe. Because of these factors, there are some limitations of this track approach. So they said leaders are not born. Now, another example I can quote you. You know the Napoleon Bonaparte. Now, Napoleon Bonaparte considers to be a good leader. But you know his height is very short fellow. Maybe 4'9" or something. 4 feet and 9 inches or so. Maximum less than 5 feet. So short guy. So the physical traits not considered to become a leader. Right? So that is the support of against this trait theory. Right? Okay. Now these are against some people are come up with some argument, not support trait theory. What trait theory talk about? Trait theory is talking about leaders aren't born, come up with certain characteristics. Right? Now I'll ask from you. So we learn about the criticism. But if I ask you this, can you give me some examples support the trait approach in today's context? Now we are criticized the trait approach now. So leaders are not born, right? But how can you support the trait approach? We discussed we are criticized. It's not so. Leaders can be made, yes, but there are some. How can you support the trait approach? Because the guys who show certain qualities through the traits, they are above average intelligence. There are some initiative guys, right? Some essential self-assurance. They're having some qualities above average. That is why they are leaders. අපි කියන්නේ සමාජලාට කියනකොට අපිට ඕගොල්ලෝ හම්බ ඇතේ මාර බ්‍රයිට්. අම්මත් එහෙමයි මචං උගේ තාත්තත් එහෙමයි මූත් මාර බ්‍රයිට්. How you say like that? ඉපදෙනකොට මරණ අප්පකේ. තාත්තත් හොදට සින්දු කියන්න පුළුවන්. උගේ වොයිස් එකත් ඒ වගේ. Now take for example ධර්මදාස වල්පොල. Son are singing like that. Milton Pereira. Their sons are doing singing the same way. Good artist, father, mother, but kids also can draw very well. You and me can't. Now take some political leaders. Say Sajid, for example, who's become an opposition leader. Correctly or wrongly, he became a but who is the father? Father is the president of Sri Lanka one time. So there are instances where you can support the trait theory. Right? Cricketers. Now in England team, we have a Chris Board. Right? He's a who father was played for England. Right? Because of there are a lot of names like that in the cricket business. So different discipline. So you can support to some extent the trait approach, but overall you cannot say leaders are born. Cannot say leaders are born. So leaders, so therefore supporting the next theory is what you call leadership behavior theories, or sometimes we call style theories. Now, under leadership behavior theories, what they talk about? They talk about not the personality, but the behavior will decide whether a person is becoming a good leader or not. In Buddhist we discussed, no, කෙනෙක් ක්‍රියාවෙන් වසලයක වේ, ක්‍රියාවකින් තමයි වසලෙක් වෙන්නේ, බ්‍රාහ්මණෙක් වෙන්නේ. Now you see, we learned some of the Buddhist theories also to discuss about the leadership. Okay, now not the personality, but the behavior will decide whether a person becoming a good leader or not. Right? Now, what is the assumption here under leadership behavior theories or style theories? We call them as leaders are not always born, they can be created also. Leaders can be created. Now, the essence of leadership style theories is that a successful leader will exhibit a pattern of behavior. So that's the style. In gaining the confidence of those they wish to lead. So we need to bring the confidence of those wish to lead. Style is, remember, however, is a difficult factor to measure or define. Very difficult, like the other track, right? The style of a manager is an essential here, how he operates. Sorry, but it is a functions of many different factors, right? So the define two leadership behaviors is basically two important areas. Now, say for an example here, so here the behavioral approach focus on two aspects of leadership behavior: functions and the style. Functions and the style. Right? So what are the two areas we highlighted here? Importance of these two functions, right? What are the two functions? Task oriented as well as people oriented. Now they have identified two types of functions. One is task oriented functions, people oriented functions. So some people are talking about the relationship oriented or task oriented functions and the people oriented functions. Right? The importance of these two functions to lead styles can be identified. Now, leader, now how its importance. Now, remember, so good leader must have both these two functions, right? But depend on the leader, two type of uh, leadership styles can be identified based on these two factors, right? So what are the two functions identified by the leadership behavior theory? One is a task oriented, other one is a what you call the people oriented, right? Now remember, now sometimes we call task related at all, right? Now in order to have a successful of this group. So these two function, achievements of fulfilling of these two function, task oriented, people oriented, are important, right? Remember, these two are important. So any group, now according to, just carefully listen to me, any uh, according to this theory, that is a leadership behavior theory, any leader need to perform two leadership functions. Right now, listen to me carefully. I will tell you very simply again. Now, what is this theory talk about? Leaders are not always born; they can create it. Right? They can create it. So, according to this behavioral theory studies, if any leader must fulfill two leadership functions. What are these two leadership functions or activities? One is we call task-oriented behavior, right? So what do you mean by a task-oriented behavior? Mean, you know, you are more concentrated on the job. So you need to get the work done. And other function is people-oriented behavior. So while you're working, you need to look at it, the aspects of your employee. That is people-oriented behavior. So any organization successful, right, to depend on the successful of these two functions. What are the two functions? Task-oriented functions and people-oriented functions. So the leader, according to the weightage given to the task oriented or the people oriented aspect, we may identify two types of leadership styles. Now, say for an example, I may more concentrated on task oriented. I need people, from the people, I want to lead them to work. So my leadership style now different. Suppose my leadership style, I want to get the work done by motivating people, communicating people. To the task oriented approach, I want to have a policies, procedures, and things like that. Again, I'm going to achieve my goals and objectives. So my leadership styles is different. So that is talk about basically the behavior theories, right? Those are assumptions. So style approach, right? Okay. Now let's look at it as I explained to you. What are task orientation? There is something, you just delete this democratic leadership style and democratic. You have to put autocratic leadership style here, right? Not the democratic, and that is, you can say, autocratic leadership style. So we cut that democratic and put autocratic instead of that. Now, what is task orientation? Task orientation is talk about is the degree to which the leader organize and define relationships in the group by activities. Now he is concentrating on, as a leader, he is concentrating on tasks. Now what he saying? Designing a specific task, specifying procedure to be followed, scheduling work, clarifying expectation, encourage people to work harder, emphasizing meeting deadline, see to that people in the work groups are working up to the capacity. So these are some of the, you noted that is a task oriented approach. If the leader expecting this type of approach, his management style is different. He may more concerned about what? About the task-oriented style. So task-oriented style means sometimes we call autocratic style. So more rules and procedures. So the leader is concentrating on job activities, right? Okay, so that's the one part. Second part is what you call people-oriented approach. Now, people-oriented approach means the leader creates an environment of emotional support, warmth, friendliness, and trust among the followers. But he want to get the things done through people-oriented style. So to be friendly with them, trust them, respect them, right? Warm relationship with them, right? So under that, what they are trying to do, uh, the approach he is using more on a friendly approach, or sometimes that is what you call the democratic approach. So here, rather than control approach, he considered about motivational aspects play an important role. The task-oriented function, he is more concentrating on rules and procedure, right? Clear, right? So these are the two areas they look at it under leadership. Always they look at it the task-oriented or people-oriented. Okay, so if you're concentrating on tasks, your leadership style is different. So these are leadership functions, we call them as. These are leadership functions, right? What are the two leadership functions? People and the task. So the leader, to what extent is concentrating on these two functions, then you need to decide your leadership style. Okay, so we will discuss about this managerial little later on that, right? Okay, people concern, task concern. We will discuss that fact in a little later on this. And so these are some. Uh, so what the important thing is a democratic management. We need task oriented as well as people oriented. So the good management style, therefore, is a democratic management. Worst side is what? The improvised management. That means less task oriented, less thing. So important thing is a democratic management style. So we will discuss a little later on that. So in order to support this, there are three studies were carried out by the three universities in USA. Three universities, right? So the three universities are Ohio State University, Michigan University, Texas University, right? So they concentrating on these behavioral aspects. So they also talk about leaders are born or made, try to find out solution for these researchers, studies, right? Now, under this theory, now Ohio State study theory, they identify initiative structure behavior and consideration behavior. Now, considerations mean again a people oriented, initiative structure mean the usually we call them as the task oriented. Same thing. Now, considerations factor mindful of subordinates, respect ideas and feelings, like what we have learned earlier. Establish mutual trust people and focus on work. Right? So that's the one support this idea. So then the Michigan study, they have identified again same thing, compared the behavior of effective and ineffective supervisors, identify two behavior styles: employee-centered leaders and job-centered leaders. Same thing, right? So all these theories are supported with the behavioral theories. Based on these theories, remember, based on these theories, based on the Michigan theory, right? Based on the Michigan theory. Now, remember, the Michigan theory is carried out by Rensis Likert, the guy called Rensis Rickert, right? Now, Rensis Rickert identified, after done a Michigan study, he identified 4 types of leadership styles. 4 types of leadership style. You can put a small note under Michigan study. Rensis Likert, RENSISLIKERT. Rensis Likert, right? And he's the guy who conducted this Michigan study. Based on his studies, he have identified 4 leadership styles. We call them as systems of leadership. Sometimes we call systems of leadership. Systems of leadership. Now, what he said, first style is we call exploitative autocratic style. That means EXPLO ITATIV, exploitative autocratic style. So that means, and he said, this relies on the fear and the threats. Now, only one way, try to get maximum. Right? Sura, may Michigan study apu eka. Right? Sura, right? Sura, Sura. පුළුවන් තරම් සේවකයන්ගේ උපරිම දේවල් ලබා ගන්න තමයි උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. අපි කියනවා ඒකට සිග්නලින් උපරිම ඒකාධිපත්‍යය. And this Michigan study also identify another style because of benevolent autocratic. Benevolent, BENEVOLENT, benevolent author. So under Michigan study, the same side, you can say Renzi Likert, the guy who conduct these systems of leadership styles. They have identified 4 leadership styles after done the Michigan studies. Exploitative autocratic, relies on fear and threats. Benevolent autocratics is a little more flexible than exploitative, right? So not so strict. The next level is consultative, like that means hitakami ekadipatya, right? Isla අපි කිව්වේ උපරිම ඒකාධිපත්‍ය. First second, that is exploitative autocratic. So what this style, they try to take maximum out from the employees. Second style is we call benevolent, or sometimes we call hitakami ekadipatya, benevolent autocratic, right? So not so strict like. Third one we call consultative, right? Consultative. What do you mean by a consultative leadership? So there we talk about sometimes we call consultative, whatever. Now through the participative, the decision We get the ideas from employees, but the final decision, remember, every time this participative leadership style, you get the opinion from your colleagues or your subordinates, but the final decision is taken by the leader, right? Okay, but you listen to them, but the final decision taken by the him. The last one is what you call the democratic leadership style. So that is common agreements. When you take a decision, the common agreement. So through the Michigan studies, right? So here the team approach in the last one, that is called system one. System one mean basically we call them as explorative. System two, benevolent. System two is what you call participative. Fourth one, system four is called the democratic, right? Okay, so different as a leadership style. What base the style to based on the two functions, right? All these theories are two functions. What are the two functions? They may be different. Task oriented, people oriented. Here you noted that Michigan study employee centered. That means people. Job centers leader mean task oriented. If you look at it, the Ohio same. Consideration mean people. Initiating structure mean task. Different way they look at it, but finally end up with all this stuff. The third study, we call them as Texas University research. They have done it and they discuss the leadership grit. Now, leadership grit. Now, what is leadership's grit talk about? Leadership's grit. As I explained to you earlier, leadership grit. Now, here, what we talk about. Now, we said concern for people and concern for production, right? The two functions. Now, they look at it, they have divided the leadership style into five. They have identified five types of leadership style. Earlier, we had four types of. Now, here we have identified five types of leadership style. This we call leadership grid. Now, think on this. First one is called improvise management style or improvise leadership style, whatever. Improvise leadership style. Now, here is a weak leadership under 1.1. Why? So here he is not pay attention to the people as well as to the production. Not pay attention to the people, not pay attention to the production, right? So sometimes we call this type of leadership we call laissez-faire. So we don't worry about you, right? So we are not bothered. The next one is what you call, next one, 1.9 is called country club management or country club leadership. Here, so they are not much concerned about the production, but they are more concerned about the people. So they are not worried about the task, but they are more concerned about. So what his style, he always good with the people. That's called country club leadership style. Then we move into the authority obedience, so sometimes we call autocratic leadership. The last corner we call autocratic. You can put 9.1. You can say autocratic leadership. Right? What is more concentrated? More concentrating on tasks. We discussed earlier, task me, get the work done, rules and procedure. Right? That is the one. Then we have 5.5 in between, middle way, Madamavat. Right? So that style we call middle of the road leadership style. So sometimes we call 5.5, you can say, middle of the road leadership style. So under this method, so the manager or the leader have a concern, balanced concern approach for people as well as the production. But we cannot achieve for success of the organization if we go bargain to bargain. So therefore, what is the important leadership style is it? You must also concentrating on tasks as well as people. So that is what you call the team leadership style. Team leadership style. So after this Texas University, they have based on the two factors, concern for production, concern for people or tasks or people, they have identified 5 types of leadership style. What are these 5 types of leadership style? We call them as autocrat. First one we call improvised leadership style. Second one, country club leadership style. Third one, autocratic leadership style. Fourth one, middle road leadership style, and the best leadership style the proposed is the team leadership style. Right? Okay, so again you noted all these theories supported the behavior. How leader behave. Right? Okay. Then there is another, now this is developed by the famous guru we call Blake Mouton, right? We call Blake Mouton leadership study. So you need to look at it. The earlier one we discussed, Michigan studies, Rensis Likert. Here you have to mention here Blake Mouton leadership style. Texas University, BLACK, Blake Mouton. Blake Mouton, M-O-U-T. That is called Blake Mouton, right? Okay, these are the two type of research has done. Now, for Ohio University, we discuss about autocratic and democratic. Now, under Michigan, we have identified 4 type of leadership style. Under Texas University, we have identified 5 type of leadership style. But all styles are depend on the behavior of the leader based on functions. What are the functions? Task function and the people function. Right? Concern for people, concern for tasks. Production are the same. Then there are some behavioral theories. We call them as Kurt Lewin. Kurt Lewin. And in 1930s, he has carried out the first study about the leadership, and we'll go for break after this, right? He has identified and he has done this research in University of Iowa. He identified there are 3 types of leadership style. With this experiment he has done University of Iowa. What the university theory, what is the leadership style they have identified? Autocratic leader. He practiced autocratic leadership style. Now, he said tend to make decision without involving subordinate. He is the guy. like earlier, spells out work methods, sometimes give negative feedback. That's autocratic leadership style. Participative leadership style is a group in decision making. Consult the subordinates on proposed action, encourage participation from them. Let the group determine the work methods. Feedback to help support you. This is a participative leadership style. So another way, right? Third one, what Kurt Lewin said, so laissez-faire leaders use their power and very rarely give the group complete freedom. Allow subordinates to set their goals and mean for achieving them, avoiding giving feedback. So there are some some leaders may be coming to them. They don't worry about ඔයාම තීරණය කරන්න. බෝලේ ඔක්කොම ටිකක් පතෝල leaders ලා. So he gives up. He won't tell you to do, but he will allow to you to do the things. Right? Now, remember, if you read some textbooks about the leadership, some of the leaders what you have mentioned earlier, if you really look at it, how these leadership styles relevant today. You know the Steve Jobs, who guys who come up with Apple, and you believe that according to the textbook saying, the Steve Jobs is practicing what leadership style you think? He practicing autocratic leadership style. To some extent, autocratic leadership style. He is little bit reluctant to delegate. He want to get the works done from others. So you imagine, even for today's context, there are some good leaders are practicing this type of leadership style. And if you really look at it, the participative leadership style in relevance today, according to again to the textbooks, you know the Warren Buffett. So the third richest person in the world is a high-profile investor. And what he's doing, he recruit people, who hired people who have a knowledge about investing and all, right? And he give power to those people to do investing and bring profits to me. So therefore, remember, the Warren Buffett is practicing the participative leadership style. He recruited new people, talented, hire good, capable people especially for investing and other things. Give them a freedom to do the job and get more income from them. It's a participative leadership style. Right? There are different types of people in today's. Right? And laissez-faire, we have not identified any person, but the laissez-faire I said, but he is not direct them, but he give the freedom, but it's not to come. But earlier, even though the Warren Buffett is given freedom, but he is following them. But here is not following. So these are, we call them as behavioral theories. I don't know whether you understood. Let me summarize again. Now you know definitely what is threat leadership theory. So what is behavioral theory? Now what we said about the behavioral theory, we talk about leaders are not born. Leaders are not born, right? We discuss leaders are not born. So leaders can be created. right? Now, every leader must concentrate two facts. If the good leader to be successful, he has to look at it two functions. One, task oriented approach or task oriented behavior, and people oriented behavior. Now, depend on the leader, so he may decide what type of management style based on the two functions. What are two functions? If we go for more on a task oriented or more on a people oriented, then we discuss what is task oriented and basically what is task oriented and what is people oriented, right? Now, task oriented means to degree to the which the leader define the relationships specifically, like rules and procedures, scheduling, close to positions, everything. But people oriented approach mean you get the works done through friendly manner, motivating and all. So for that, he used a different management or leadership style that is called democratic, usually, right? Okay. Now, having understood that, the two approach to support these three behavioral theory, there are some three studies are done by three universities. One is Ohio State University. That is the first one, right? Democratic and autocratic. Then the Michigan study, we discuss, identify that Michigan study is carried out by Francis Likert, and we have identified four type of leadership style. What are the four type of leadership style? Explorative autocratic, benevolent autocratic, participative autocratic, and other one we call the democratic leadership style, right? From more tough to more flexible. That is Michigan study. So that's really identified based on Michigan studies. Then the based on the Texas University studies, the what do the gentleman call mountain Black Mountain, BLACK, you can put it somewhere here, Black Mountain study, BLACK, MOUTONS, leadership style. He has identified five types of leadership styles. One is improvised leadership style. Second one is a country club leadership style. Third one, autocratic leadership style. Middle road leadership style and team leadership style. And they said the team leadership style is the ideal in this situation, right? Okay, then a scientist found uh, three scientists, I mean, basically the Kurt Levine also identified three types of leaders. These leaders are showing autocratic leadership style, participative leadership style, and laissez-faire leadership style, right? Okay, so these are the theories we need to learn under leadership style, under behavior, right? Okay, so you are here. Have you understood, Gayan? Okay then. Kavindra, Terunada?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So then we'll have a break now, right? Then we'll have a break and then we'll come around 11:20 or 11:25 and we'll do the And the next important one is what you call contingency theories, right? Contingency theories. Now, these theories talk about leaders basically adapt their leadership style based on the situation arise, right? Based on the situation. So, what are the supportive theories for that, right? So, we discuss on that. So, we'll come around 11:25 and then discuss the contingency theories. Okay, right. Right. So we discussed the behavioral aspects of leadership, and now what we are going to discuss about the contingency theory or sometimes we call a situational theory. Now, leaders should change their style according to the situation. That is what you call the contingency theory. Now, contingency theory, leadership of an individual is determined by the nature of situation the individual has to face. Now, the decisions or the leadership style to be decided based on the situation, right? Um, so, so that's basically the situational approach to leadership. So there are uh, there are basically three type of four type of contingency theories we are going to learn. Now, some of the textbooks, so some of the people identify this Robert um, Tannenbaum and Warren Schmidt theory or continuum of leadership as a style theory. Some are considered them as a situational theory, right? That's it depends. Some people this theory identifies categorized under style theory or behavioral theory, but we are here categorize them under situational theory or contingency theory. Then another theory we call them as Hersey Blanchard situational theory, Fred Fedler situation theory, and Martin G. Evans Robert House theory, that path goal theory is famously called. So we are going to discuss these four theories, right? But try to understand these theories. I try to explain as simple as possible of these theories about the leadership. Then the situational now, according to the some scholars, the leadership effectiveness based on the certain situational determinants. Now, these are the some of the determinants of situational factors. Um, Task requirement, superior expectation, leaders' personality, past experience, organization's culture. These factors may impact the effectiveness about your leadership style, right? When you are discuss, these are the situational determinant may be impacted your leadership style, right? Okay, so to extend your subordinated characteristics, right? Organization's culture, personality and the past experience, superior expectation, task requirement, like based on these changing factors, situational factors may impact at your leadership effectiveness, right? Okay. The next one we call, the first one we call as the, just going to discuss about the Tannenbaum leadership style. We call them as continuum. Continuum means Santatiya. That is what the signal we call uh, Santatiya. Now, now this theory is basically talk about two things. Leadership style depend on the three sets of forces. One forces is basically the forces in the manager. So what is the forces in the management? Forces in the manager mean basically the the knowledge, the skills, experience, values of the manager, right? Second factor is called the forces in the subordinates. So that means forces in subordinates mean your subordinates knowledge, your subordinates skills, your subordinates experience, right? That's right. Third point is forces in the situation. The third factor, the leadership style depend forces in the situation. That is why we may sometimes they may categorize under situational leadership theory. That forces in situation mean now what is the established, what is the type of leadership style established in the organization, uh, what is the type of work carried out by the employees, what is the impact or what is the force of customers, like that, right? So these are the factors will determining the continuum of leadership. Now again, just look at it. I've just explained you. If you want, just write it down under continuum of leadership somewhere in your handout. In the same slide, you can say the best leadership styles developed by Robert Tannenbaum and H. Shahid based on the three forces. What are the three forces? Forces in the manager. Third one, forces in the subordinates. Third point, sub forces in the situation. Now, forces in this manager mean to what extent to which the manager's quality, manager's scale, capabilities, experience, and things like that. The next leadership style depend on the same thing as subordinates. What is the level of the knowledge, skills of the subordinates? Third point is the situation. Now, what is the existing present leadership style practiced by the organization, and the what are the functions or what are the activities carried out by your organization? And the third point is the basically the customer forces, how powerful the customers are. So those are situational factors. What are the three sets of forces? Forces in the manager, forces in the subordinates, and forces in the situation. Right? Now, based uh, on that, we can categorize like this. Okay, so right. Now, say uh, two factors: boss-centered, subordinate-centered, leadership, leadership. That means the boss centers leadership, subordinate centered leadership, right? Use of authority by the manager and areas of freedom for subordinate. So based on that freedom, so you have three, four, five, six, seven type of leadership style. Now, why it is a continuum mean? So there's a way increasing, right? There's a pattern of increasing. Now, okay. Now, what is the boss center's leadership here? Suppose your authority by the manager is very high, you are not giving much power to your subordinates. That means the lack of the power of the subordinate, the experience, skills. Now, we discussed earlier the three factors will contributing to this: forces in the manager, forces in the subordinates, forces in the situation. Now here what they happen, so the knowledge about the subordinates are less. So therefore manager makes decision and announce them to do. So use of authority by the manager. So that is a characteristics. When you go to this next level, manager sells decision. Manager present ideas and invites questions. Manager presents tentative decisions to subject to change. So likewise, the leadership style may vary from the knowledge about subordinates from the zero to high level, right? Okay. Now, based on that, so what is the decisions? What is the type of decision? Type of leadership style is this. Now, first one, manager make decisions and announce. Then tell style, leadership style. Tell style. यानी केरो make a Next one, the next one. Now, here in the very extreme corner, so subordinate have less knowledge, less experience. So you need to tell, you need to do everything. So in the quantum, so the level of the knowledge about the your employees are in little bit of increasing now. Skills and knowledge and all are a little bit of increasing. Then the more you have the knowledge about the employees, your subordinates, so your leadership style may vary, right? Okay, so then next one little bit, manager sells decisions. Now what manager, what the decisions he has taken must tell. He's trying to sell it to the employees. But here he take the decision and he asks you to carry on. That is a tell. Now sell style mean manager the decisions he has taken try to sell it to employees. That is called sell style, right? Sell style. The third one we call, so manager presents, the manager presents ideas and invite questions. Now, not only sell it, but these three are we call consultative, consult style, right? These three are we call consult style. Manager presents his ideas, invite questions from subordinates. I'm going to take this decision. What do you think? Right? And the next level, manager present tentative decision subject to change. Okay, then they said, okay, I can change, right? We based on your ideas. Next level, manager present problems and get suggestions to make the decision. So all these three areas under this, we call them as what? Consult style. So there are 5 style, but a management style based on the certain factors. Then manager make decisions and announce to subordinate, tell style. Manager try to sell his idea to, or say his decision to subordinate, sell style. Then manager present ideas and invite questions from subordinates, or present ideas and can he may say he think okay we will change the decisions, or get suggestions to change. All these three comes under consult style. Then managers defines limits, ask group to make decision. So more power has now given to subordinate. So in that case we call joint style, right? Joint style. And the last one we call the delegate style. That means manager permits subordinates to function within the limit defined by the superior. So that when you go to the extreme right hand corner, the subordinate has the more knowledge, more skills, and to take the decision, right? So based on that, the decisions and based on the subordinate skills and the knowledge and the given situation, the leader may use different type of skills, tell styles. Now if you want, in your handout you can say the first one tell styles under that, second manager sales decision cell type, and the third, fourth, fifth together you can have a some arrow and say it is a consult style, and the next one is the joint style and delegate style. Both together will take the decision, and the last one delegate style. Okay, right. So these are what you call Hersey and Blanchard situational theory, right? Leaders determine. Okay, sorry, the turban, sorry, what you call this uh, Robert Tannenbaum uh, continuum of leadership, as I discussed with you. This is some part is relating to the situation, as to the behavior of manager and the employees. That is why some people are put under that. But there's a fact that here we think about the situation, forces the situation. So as a result of that, they may consider under situational theory. Right. Now the next one is another important one developed by uh, Hersey and Blanchard, situational leadership theory. Blanchard's Hersey and Blanchard situational theory. Now, what is this theories talk about? The contingency theory is talking about the what way, the readiness of followers. So, to what extent the followers are ready to do the work? That is what you call readiness. A contingency theory that focuses on followers. Now, readiness, followers, readiness. Now, followers' readiness is basically uh, considering with uh, three factors, right? Now, this concept was developed by Hersey and Blanchard, and with the Paul Hersey. Now, Hersey mean two guys is a Paul Hersey and the Blanchard, the two scientists, has identified, and he has developed this concept. And now he has identified two type of uh, points. One point is basically he has identified this theory, the readiness of the employees is depend on the employees' maturity. Now, employees' maturity mean not the age, right? Remember that employees' maturity means not the age. Employees' maturity here we are referring to the basically the willingness of the follower to basically willingness of the follower to take responsibility for directing their own behavior. So that is what you call the level of maturity, right? Now, in basically nutshell of this situational leadership is talking about now based on the maturity stage amount or maturity level of the employee, the management style or the what you call the leadership style may vary. Okay, that's a very simple thing. Based on the readiness or the maturity level of the employee, the decision style is going to be vary. Right? Now, readiness refers to followers' ability and willingness to work. Now, readiness mean followers' ability and willingness to work. Now, say for an example, there are four type of situation we'll identify. Situation 1, situation 2, situation 3, and situation 4. Now, there are three type of some factors determine the theory. What are the three factors? One factor is task behavior. Task behavior, right? Task behavior. Second factor is the relationship behavior. So that means Basically, they talk about the desire for achievement. Desire for achievement, right? Second point is we look at desire for taking responsibility. Third one, task related skills and experience. These are the factor which determine the readiness about the employee, right? Okay, now we look at it uh, based on these the maturity of the employee. You can divide it into four. What are the four areas? Look at it. Having ability to work. Now say first one. Now having ability to work, unable, able. Having willingness, unwillingness, right? Something like that. Now say situation. Okay, first, they generally lack of the specific skills required for the job in hand. That is unable. Unwilling to take the responsibility, right? That is the situation one. Now, the first level of employee maturity. Okay, again, I'm just explaining to you in more very simply again. Now, this Hersey and Blanchard situational leadership theory is basically talk about the readiness about the employee to do the job or to achieve the goals or whatever. So this they considers the employee maturity. Employee maturity. Now, based on the employee maturity, the, the type of leadership style may be different, right? Okay, again, I'm telling contingency theory of Hersey and Blanchard focuses on followers' readiness. කපෝදරට ඔහු සූදානම්ද කියන එක අනුව. Now, readiness mean basically followers' ability and willingness to work. Readiness mean followers' readiness, ability and willingness to work. Now, employees' willingness and ability can be categorized into four stages depending on the maturity of the employee. Right? So we have identified situation 1, situation 2, situation 3, situation 4. Now, 2 points. Ability, willingness. Ability means the knowledge, experience, skills. Willingness, take the responsibility. Right? Willingness means basically take the responsibility. Ability means usually we talk like that. You have a specific skills to do that. Right? That is what you call ability and willingness. Right? Willingness to take the responsibility. Ability to do the work. Remember like that. Willingness to take the responsibility, ability to do the work. Required skills. Now, based on these two factors, you have identified 4 situations. The first situation is, that is situation 1. They generally, now who say generally they mean the followers or employees. Followers generally lack the specific skills. That means ability. Unable for the job in hand and are unable and unwilling to take the responsibility. So very raw readiness. They not have the ability and they are not even willingness. So therefore the situation 1 is unable. They don't have much specific skills required to do that, and also unable and unwilling to take the responsibility for that job task. That's the first one. That's the first situation. Second situation is we call unable. Unable means that they are still unable to take any responsibility but willing, they are still unable to take on responsibility for the task being done. They are willing to work at the task. So that's a important thing, right? Unable but willing. Okay, that the second point. Third one is what you call they are experienced and able to do the job, but unwilling to take the responsibility. Confidence to take the lack the confidence. We say lack the confidence to take the responsibility or unwilling to take the responsibility. Fourth situations are they are experienced, able, that means they have ability and they have a willingness also to take the responsibility, and that is what you call the situation 4. Okay, let me try to slowly explain to you what is Hearst Blending situational leadership theory talk about. Simple readiness. To what extent the employee ready to do the job and willing to take the responsibility. Now that's depend on the employee's maturity, right? Now employee's maturity can be different levels, right? Okay, we'll say maturity level 1 or situation 1, but the employee unable. Unable mean lack of specific skills or ability, as well as unable or unwilling to take the responsibility. That is the first situation. Maturity level 1. Second level of the maturity is called the situation 2. Second level, they are still unable. They are still unable, right? So what is unable mean? So generally unable the job and willing to take the responsibility, right? They are still unable to take on responsibility for the task being done. However, they are willing to work at the task. So they may be willing to work, but they are not going to take the responsibility. That's the second stage. Third, third stage of uh, the employee maturity we call able. Able mean they are experienced and able to do the task, but lack the confidence task and unresponse take the responsibility or takes on response. The last one is able. They have the knowledge, skills required, and ability and willingness. That's a readiness. Readiness, ability, and willingness. Okay. Now, if you take this one, now you have the four situation. You have the four situation. Situation one, unable, unwilling. Unable, unwilling. So that means they don't have a, much uh, much of the knowledge and not willing to take the responsibility. Now, situation two, unable and but willing. So they try to work but don't want to take the responsibility. Situation three, able, they have the risk but unable, don't want to take the responsibility. Situation four, they are want to do and they are willing to take the responsibility. Now, based on these are the four level of maturity of the employees. The readiness stages, in fact, we talk about the level of readiness stages based on skills and what skills and ability and willingness. Now, can you suggest? Now we have identified four type of leadership style. One type is coaching style, selling style. Other one is a directing style, supporting style or participating style. Fourth one, delegating style. Clear? Right. Now, can you tell me now which style is suitable for situation 1? Which style is suitable for situation 2? Which style is suitable for situation 3? Which style is suitable for situation 4? Right? Can anybody tell us that? Are there people? I will see who are there. Right? Okay. Can Kavindra or Gayan or anybody? Can you tell? I mean, which leadership style is ideal for this situation? Now, situations 1 is basically talk about again situation 1. Now, these situations 1, 2, 3, 4 are stages are developed based on the readiness or the level of maturity the followers having, the employees are having. Some are unable and unwilling. That means they don't know, they don't have a skills, and also they don't want to take the responsibility. Now, this type of people, what you need to do? වැඩ කරන්නත් මුන් කැමති නෑ. කම්මැලි වැඩ කරන්න වගකීම ගන්නත් කැමති නෑ. So what is the style you're suggesting for them out of these 4 styles? Delegating, telling, participating, selling. Directing style, directing style means telling style. What is the style you prefer? What is the style you're recommending for these type of people? Given the situation. Huh? So, අපි බලහත්කාරයෙන් නැත්නම් උන්ට කියන්න මේක කරන්න. Right? So for situation 1, we usually use what type of leadership style? The manager need to use the what? The directing style leadership. Very good. The second guys are basically they are unable, but they are willing to do the work. They not want to take the responsibility, but they want to do the job. Somebody must support them. No, somebody must not support. Somebody must coach them. Right? Need to do this thing. So you need to tell them. Oh, sorry, you need to sell them your ideas. Then the second one is we call the coaching style. Third style, able but unwilling. So that means we bring them to take the what? Participate. Good. And the last one, the style is what you are proposing, delegating. So because they are willing and they want to take the responsibility, and that type of situation, what the leadership style you need to use? The coaching, sorry, it's the delegating style. Now the last slide. Now say for these type of people, these are the type of style you recommend. Right? Now what is blend chart talk about? Blend chart talk about is basically people are little bit of there are this theory focuses on followers readiness. Now readiness depend on the ability mean the knowledge, the experience, the skills the follower is having, and the willingness, the commitments and the motivation or take the responsibility. That is a willingness. So that's a readiness. To what extent their ability and willingness. So that's a different situation. So based on that employee's maturity, right? So the maturity of the employees divided into 4 stages. Four stages like situation, unable, unwilling, unable, willing, able, unwilling, able, willing. Different situation. So based on the different situations, so you may use different type of leadership style. So that is talk about the simple what you call the split chart, right? If you put it in a diagram wise, this is the one delegating. So leaders concerned with the relationship, leaders concerned with the task. Based on these two factors, willing, unwilling, based on that, so you are having different type of leadership style. Unwilling, unable, telling. Willing, unable, selling. Unwilling, able, participating. Willing, able, delegating. The same thing what you have drawn in the earlier previous slide. Right. Then the next slide is talk about the Fiddler's, what you call Fiddler's contingency theory. Fiddler's contingency theory, right? Fiddler's contingency theory. Now, this theory, again, a leader can follow either one of the following style. Now, what is Fiddler said? You cannot use two styles at once. One style at any given situation only. එකපාරට එක style එකක්. මිස් කරලා පාවිච්චි කරන්න බෑ. So he has identified two type of styles. Two type of style. One style we call, according to the Fiddler, he said there are two type of situational styles. One style we call task-oriented style. Sometimes you can put it in bracket. Psychologically distant managers. You can put psychologically distant managers. Another name for task-oriented style. Psychologically, PSY, psychologically distant managers, we call PDMs. Psychologically distant managers. Relationship oriented style, some books are telling like psychology close managers, PCM, close distance. That's the two different style. Okay, psychologically distant manager and psychologically close manager, and they have identified the two type of styles, right? Okay, now, so before we go to the next stage, uh, let me say what you mean by psychologically distant managers or task oriented. What are the characteristics of a task oriented manager, right? What is task oriented? Task oriented mean, or sometimes we call psychologically distant managers. What are the characteristics? Now, so the manager have a, with the subordinates we have a distance. So you have a formalizing rules and relationship within the roles. So you are concentrating on tasks, right? There may be a lack of interpersonal relationships, right? Task oriented employees, usually they don't have a close relationship with each other. Then they prefer formal communication. They prefer formal communication, right? And consultation methods they prefer. So these are some of the characteristics of task-oriented or psychological distant managers. Their characteristics. So if you look at the relationship-oriented style or close psychological close managers, employees, we call them as do not seek formalized roles and relationships. They don't want, like earlier, people need formalized methodological interpersonal communication. But these relationship oriented people, they don't want specific roles and relationship, but they prefer informal context to regular staff meetings and things like that. So these are some of the characteristics shown by employees or subordinates or managers. Now, you as a leader, having understood the two type of employees, what is the style of leadership would be determined to them. What is the type of leadership is ideal for them? Now, what Fiedler is talk about, Fiedler suggested that the most effective style of leadership would be determined to these two type of employees by the situation. That is why you call situation theory, by the conditions. What are the conditions? Now, these conditions of situation may be influenced by three factors, right? Three factors. There are one factor is already it is in your handout. You can say leader member relationship. Leader member relationship, right? So how their relationship is good or bad. Second point, task structure. Now the task structure mean to extend with the task is structured. The task is structured. Third factor is not in your handout. You can just put under third point. You please write leader position power. Leader position power. That means the leader position power. Third point. Right? Now, leader position power means the degree of formal authority or the responsibility allocated to that person. Right? Okay. Now, leader can follow either one of the following style. What is the style they are going to use it? Task-oriented style or relationship-oriented style. Some of the characteristics of task-oriented and the relationship-oriented I'll explain. But the type of the style you are going to use for these people, or maybe task-oriented or relationship-oriented style, dependent on the situation or contingency. Now, this situation will be favorable if all three following factors are positive or favorable. Now, what are the factors? One factor is leader-member relationship. Second factor, task structure. Those are situational factors. To extend to which the task is structured. Third one, leader position power. So that is leader position power means the degree of formal authority or the responsibility. Now, in terms of the leadership style, what Fettler intimates that the leader can be high on only one aspect at a time, either people oriented or task oriented. So that means relationship oriented style or task oriented style. You as a leader, based on these three situations, need to decide which style is used. They cannot use both, only one style at a time. So now Fiedler suggests that the task oriented, that means psychologically distant managers approach work best when the situation is either very favorable or very unfavorable. Suppose the situation is that means leader member relationship very bad. Task structure is not properly structured. Leader position power is good and a bad or whatever. So two extreme cases you can use it. Now what is the expecting from according to the Fedler, he suggested the what is the best approach is the task oriented approach. That means PDC approach, PDM approach. When the other approach, the relationship approach, can be used, the situation is favorably for the lead, right? So that means basically, right now the two extreme means use the task style. In between, we are using the relationship style. Okay, that is what the Fedler talk about. Now, if I explain to you again very simply, Fedler has identified two type of styles. What are the two type of style? Task style of leadership and a relationship style leadership. Right? Now, task, whether to use task style or relation style, Fedler has identified three types of situational factors. What are these three situational factors? Leader member relationship, good or bad. Task structure, well structured or unstructured. Third, leader position power, very strong, weak. Now, suppose the first one, situation is very favorable to leader. Extreme situation is very unfavorable to leader. In both occasions, what Fedler is suggesting to use the task style of leadership. But in between, good, unstructured, strong, bad, or something, we may use the relationship style. Right? Because you need to give priority to the two situations. When the situation is bad, now for an example, now you can say for an example, the these situations under COVID-19 type of a situation. So what is the management style they talk about? To better to use the task style, right? So that is the Fedler contingency theory talks about. Repeating again, Fedler identified two types of leadership style, task style and the relationship style. Right? Now, these two styles to be used depend on the three situations identified by the Fedler. What is the three situation? The leader-member relationship, task structure, to what extent is structured or unstructured, leader position, power. That means how strong and how weak. Suppose if you have a two extreme corners, that means these three factors are very bad, very favorable, or very bad, both occasion, what Fedler is suggesting to use the task style. Now, give an example. I am quoting you under this type of situation. According to the Fedler, what is the leadership style suggesting to the companies by the Fedler is the task style of leadership. Right. Okay, next point. Last one, we call them as path goal theory. We call them as path goal theory. Now, path goal theory is a contingency approach again, in which the leader's responsibility is to increase the subordinates' motivation by clarifying behaviors necessary for task accomplishment and reward. Now, leader, what they are trying to tell to follower, attain the goals and reduce roadblocks and success. Now, here what they are trying to do under path goal strategy is he tells what is the rewards I'm going to give you. What is the rewards I'm going to give you? In order to get these rewards, what is the task you need to follow? Clearly listen to me, right? Now in the path goal theory is talking about this. Now leader must tell, according to the Martin and Robert House, the two scientists or bureaucrats develop this theory, but they tell you must tell your followers, okay, these are the rewards you are going to get. These are the rewards you are going to get if you, what you need to do to get this reward. What is the task performance you need to do to get these rewards? මේ ප්‍රතිදාන නැත්තම් මොනවද මේවා ප්‍රතිදාන ඔබට හම්බෙන්නේ ඒ ප්‍රතිදාන ගැනීම සඳහා ඔබ විසින් කළ යුතු දේවල්. So you have to direct them. You have to use a leadership style. Now accordingly, now leader need to be practice 4 type of leadership style. Now think on this. First one we call the supportive leadership style. Supportive leadership style. Now, supportive means followers may be situation, followers may have a lack self-confidence. So, can we achieve our targets? Can we achieve our objectives? They have a capabilities, but they have a lack of self-confidence. Now, what the leaders then need to be do? So we need to support them. That's a role of an leader. Support them. That is supportive leadership style role. Second one, directive leadership style. Now here, so your job is not very clear, right? So what you need to do? So you must direct them. So what you need to do? So direct them. Work scheduling. So you must tell them. Clarifying paths to reward. You must direct them. So then if your subordinates, your followers having uncertainty, ambiguous, I don't know what to do to get these rewards, then you must direct them. So therefore you are using a directive leadership style. Right? Third style we call achievement oriented leadership style. So third one, achievement oriented leadership style. Now for that, what you need to do? You noted that this target is not enough, right? So easily can be achieved. So therefore, so this type of people, what you need to put, you must put challenging targets to be given. What we are expecting? We are expecting a higher performance from individuals or followers, right? So we must try for them for higher goals, create confidence, or not a confidence, basically, incentivize them to achieve these challenging goals, right? The last one is a participative leadership. So that means, so you may take the support from the people. That mean basically, so we need to get the views, ideas uh, from the uh, from the from the followers. So that is called participative lead. Clarifies followers need to change rewards, right? So we need to change rewards. So if you get someone, okay, what sort of rewards you're expecting? Get the views from him. So all these theories, all this style will talk about past goal situation. Is a path, they're showing a path to achieve your goals, right? So that is why it's called path goal situation and preferred leader behavior by the leader, right? So identify the situation, then identify the what type of leadership style you are proposing for different situation stages of the followers, right? Here we first need to understand what is the reward. In order to get this reward, what is the task you need to accomplish? So then you identify your employees, your followers having different type of facing a different type of situation. One guys are, so they can do the job, but they don't have a confidence. So what is your job now? Support, supportive leadership. Some people are not clear, so they may have everything, but they not clear what to do to achieve the rewards. So then you must use the directive leadership side. Some people feel it, right? Your follower situation, and this not challenging enough. So then you need to give them a challenging task, guide them, incentivize them for higher results. So that is then when you need to use a different leadership style, achievement oriented leadership style. You can get it. You can achieve like that. The last one, participative leadership style, mean you get what sort of reward you're expecting, ideas from your employees, right? So then you decided your leadership, but they are not sure about their rewards. They don't know what to achieve and all. So if they see rewards are not enough and like that. So then you must participate with them to come up with new rewards. So these are the four type of rewards you need to come from path goal situation. Right. So these are we call path goal theories. Right. Last, okay, next one we call functional approach. Right. I just stop today from here. I will explain to you this part and the new modern or contemporary leadership style next week, and we continue with the motivation. We will start the motivation, and once you finish this part. So therefore, we have covered. Maybe after next week, we may go for HR, and then we will go for ethics. That's what we plan, right? Okay. So I hope you understood these theories, right? Today, right? And now it's 12:30. So we will see you on next. What we discussed today, we discussed behavioral theories, fact theories, situational theories, right? And the the functional theories are for extended situational theory. So we will discuss with some summarizing what we have learned and go for motivation next week. Thank you. Okay.